It is crazy to think about how few events can change your life and academic career. Not such as much as a physical change, but also a mental change or an eye-opener. I was born into a small town in Ludlow, Pennsylvania, with a population of under 300. I lived a typical middle-class family, very happy in my days growing up as a child with my two brothers. I never asked for much and was given the world. It seemed like we had no problem growing up. The family was stable throughout my childhood. As years went by, I understood at a young age that life wasn't as easy as I thought it was. I would start to sense the struggle that my father and mother started to go through in my early teens and try to understand why it was so hard to keeping everything afloat when both my parents were making money. One day, reality entered my life. My parents split up, and my mother and my two brothers and I had to move out to the town of Kane, which is 9 miles from Ludlow. It wasn't hard making the adjustment at first, going to the same school as before, just living at a different place. But a few months went by. My mother was unable to make payments by herself. At that point, my father wouldn't help much financially because he wasn't able to at the moment. So my mother was stuck making most of the payments off her own salary. As my high school years went by, every month seemed like a struggle, and I knew I would have to work right out of high school to help support my family because college was out of the question at that point. Then I set my sights on football. Football was my free ticket into college if any scholarship were to come my way. I worked hard to reach that goal, but it wasn't good enough. I waited till the end of my senior year and still no offers were available to me. So when I graduated, I set my sights on a job because I couldn't leave my family behind when I still had a younger brother going through school and my mother struggling to keep my family upright. I found a part-time job which paid minimum wage. I worked 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and my older brother found a job as well. At that point, my family was pretty stable and we got by rather well. After 2 years of working, I finally set my eyes on college education. When I began my college career, financial aid did not cover much of my college debts because they took my father's, my mother's, my brother's, and my own salary and summed it up. All the money I had saved up while supporting my family had to go to the school to keep my education going, and still had money that was due. My mother had to pitch in and assist me with my debt when I knew she alone had trouble getting by. So there I was in school with no money to my name. All the work I put into saving up for school was no longer there, and I had to struggle knowing that I have a family struggling back home. This is my 3rd year now in college. Really, I'm not sure how I made it this far. Every year seems like a struggle to pay off the debts to the school. I wonder if I'm ever going to be able to afford the next. Is there an answer to all the struggling families that want to send their children to school? We live in a society in which, when it comes to education, school is in reach for those who can afford it, those who are lucky enough to have the wealth to send their children to school. With school funding being cut each year and the middle class slowly getting poorer, it makes me wonder how some of these families will be able to send their children to school without struggling any more than they should. Imagine going through college, walking across the stage without worrying how you are going to pay off the ridiculous amounts of money that it costs to attend a higher education. Imagine growing up and sending your children to school without worrying about the debt that is soon to be. In a country in which the middle class is fading to the poor regions, wouldn't it make sense to provide a higher education to all? Instead of having families relying on welfare systems, they could rely on a higher education to support themselves, their loved ones, instead of hesitating to make the move to college because of the cost. This is not a poor me essay. There are many other families that are far worse off than mine, and I understand that. But imagine a country that can have people from different classes attending school and have no worries about debt. A society in which to get an education doesn't require having a financed family, but merely requires dedication to hard work for everyone who wishes to attend. That would lift stress off the shoulders of many students and families, including my own. But for now, I have to focus on schooling because the cost of education is too much for me to fail, and there is no going back now. There is no turning back. I can't afford to lose.